I'm Roberta Whitney, and this is The Beauty Show, where I'll be taking a deep dive into uncovering positive aging breakthroughs. So here we are. So as we try to maintain youthfulness or even try to unlock our inner beauty using products and procedures, we often neglect a really important area. And it's an important aspect of our lives, and this is the intimate area. This delicate area becomes aged just like any other, right? So we need to take care of it. And today I'm super excited to be talking to the beautiful Lana Kerr, who is the founder and CEO of CO2 Lift and CO2 Lift V. So we'll be discussing both of them, but I think we're going to have like a real focus on the CO2 Lift V today. So Lana, welcome to the Beauty Show.
Roberta, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me. I always love talking about all things that improve the quality of our lives, especially as women. I'm really happy to be here.
So excited. So I know the time difference and stuff. We took a bit of time to get this together, but here we are. So let me begin by saying intimate health should be a part of your self-care routine, right? But it's often overlooked. So when we're discussing intimate health, what would be the first thing? In fact, let's go back a little bit and tell me a little bit about your story. How did you start this journey to CO2 Lift?
Okay. Well, first of all, I love your introduction because that's I would say it's a mission of mine to redefine the definition of skincare or self-care to extend to more than just our face and our neck. In fact, it went to our knees and it skipped a very vital part of what makes up a woman. And so I want to kind of bring that back. So I love your introduction, but what got me into CO2 Lift, the brand, I've had, every venture that I have been involved in is something that I've been always passionate about. It's something that involves improving our lives in one way or the other. So over 24 years ago, my husband and I opened some weight loss clinic, and that is something that was of interest to me because again, when people lose weight, when they lose fat, when they understand how to eat, it makes their quality of life, it makes them feel better about themselves. So they become better wives, better husbands, better people, better employees. It just improves every aspect of their life. And I loved doing that transformation. In fact, we worked with over 25,000 people. So what happened after that, we changed our model from having a physical location to going virtual. And then we're reducing our offices. We had 10 to just having one location. And we opened a spa because what we found is that once people started losing weight and feeling better about themselves, now they wanted to start taking better care of their skin. And so in trying to find something that was going to be as effective as our weight loss program in skincare, we started looking around and we heard, about carboxytherapy, which was something that at the time, the only delivery system that we heard about was with a needle. So we thought about bringing that in, but then there were some regulations that it was just a lot more than we anticipated and we didn't want to get involved in. So we discovered another delivery system. It was patented, a gel delivery system that's patented in Japan, for which we have the exclusive license for. So that technology is what started the CO2 Lift. So we formulated CO2 Lift based on that. And we started with just the face and the body. And CO2 Lift is carboxytherapy, which is the therapeutic use of carbon dioxide to regenerate the skin. So it really is the jet fuel to skin regeneration. And it's a natural thing because the CO2, no one is allergic to CO2. We all have it, breathe in oxygen, exhale CO2. However, once you put CO2 into the body, it triggers a series of events that helps the body to start regenerating cells because it oxygenates the tissue significantly once it's applied. And that process continues even once it's removed. So it has various applications in skincare, in wound healing, in pre-post procedure. When you're doing a facelift, it's great to put on right after the wound. Physicians use it right after surgery to help to heal, to prevent necrosis, to help with speedy recovery. Anyway, so that's where we started. And then, I started having my own personal issues, when I was in my mid 40s. Now I'm 52, but when I started noticing a difference in the quality of my intimacy, let's put it that way. In other words, I was not enjoying it in the same way. And I'm very keen on how I feel, during intimacy. So I was quickly recognized that something was different. And so I went to my GYN and we had that discussion. And, she was saying as we get older, that tissue gets thinner. And she was recommending a laser that she was getting into her office, which I booked the appointment for. But on leaving, I realized that we have something that works very much like energy without damaging the skin. Because once you put energy into the skin, what happens is that you create a controlled damage, controlled heat, or controlled wound, a controlled damage to the skin, which now forces the body to start healing itself. It can create that same situation or environment without damaging the skin by putting CO2 into the skin. So I thought, okay, well, let's see if it works down there. So we did a small pilot just for safety and efficacy, and it was just conclusive that this was safe and effective for use of regeneration of vaginal tissue. And then we did a larger study in 2020, which was a blind study. Half the women used an ultrasound gel and half the women used a CO2 lift V. And of course, none of them, they didn't know what they were using. And the ones that used the CO2 lift showed significant changes in all 5 areas in a questionnaire. And the ones that used ultrasound gel showed none. And then we did biopsies, and the histology showed that tissue, when you look at those women, that tissue that was very thin growth, in other words, it became rich, healthy tissue that is attributed because of the CO2. So that's pretty much the story. That was a long answer.
Well, where do I don't want to interrupt because you were in flow, and it was very interesting to know the sort of journey story. But what I also really love about this product is that there aren't very many products on the market that you can use on your face and on your intimate area, and where it's going to rejuvenate just as well on the face as the intimate area. So for me, that's like such an incredible opportunity for women, that you can have this one product that just works so well, both areas where women are concerned about aging. And we really forget that the intimate area is a delicate area, just like the under eye area is super thin and delicate. And it takes, really good products that really penetrate deep into the skin to make it plump and juicy.
Yes, for sure. Now, just to clarify to your audience, the CO2 lift carbox is the same technology in both. However, the CO2 lift V is a little different because the pH is a little different and it has a little different formulation that helps with other challenges that face women down there that not necessarily on our face. So it's, even though it's the same technology, they're just a little differently formulated just because of that, just so that women know this. But yes, it's great to have something, I think, that a woman can do in the privacy of her home that's going to help to keep that area youthful. I think this conversation too I think it's important for women to understand that, and you said it initially when you started, that area ages. Like we think, I don't know, before face coming to the age, no one talked about it. Like you just kind of just take for granted that, so what if it does age? If it's functioning the same way, but it actually changes the functionality. And I think that it's important that younger women understand what's coming for them. Right.
And even if you've had children, so we're not even talking just like menopausal women.
Yes.
We're talking about any kind of, even younger women can have vaginal atrophy and have the dryness. So it's not necessarily an age thing per se.
It's true, because hormones change for different reasons in a woman's life.
Yeah.
In other words, after children, that's true, especially breastfeeding, estrogen decreases, which causes dryness. But when you think about certain medications that women are on, regardless of their age, you're talking about on antidepressants, what happens? It actually dries the vaginal tissue. It changes their desire because it's affecting blood flow. So those various things, including, of course, peri and postmenopausal women. But as you said, younger women face these things. You have women who have PCOS who are in their 20s. So it affects across the board. I think because my experience was when I got into my perimenopausal age is when I really noticed a difference. But in truth, when I had children, I think the challenges in my marriage as a result of my lack of desire for intimacy, it could have been prevented if I had known about that this was something natural, and then if there was something like this to fix it.
No, exactly. So I know a lot of women who would listen to this and know and sort of realize that they've had some loss of functionality, but it's like this taboo that they don't want to talk about. They're embarrassed. What do you say to women that are embarrassed about, purchasing a product like this or talking about the issues that they might be having?
So I think from my conversations with women, what I gather is that many women feel that by acknowledging that things change, it's a reflection, or it's a reflection of who they are. In other words, if they say this, oh, no, usually this would be the response. Always like, oh, no, I'm fine down there. That's the general response, because they think it's something about an attack on their womanhood. I would want to say, first of all, it isn't. It's a very natural thing. It's a very natural, aging is natural. If you're aging on your skin, on your face, it's skin down there, and And I've heard from a gynecologist before that you can tell a woman's true age by looking in her vagina, because that skin is going to, it hasn't been treated like what we're doing on our face. We're constantly, preventing, it may not be getting sun down there, but this tissue is still getting thinner. That's just what happens. Blood flow changes. So I would say, listen, first of all, it's not. Men have been doing things for themselves forever. I mean, a man isn't afraid to talk about, Viagra, and that he's using it. I mean, it's not, there's no shame in that. There's no shame in using skincare. We're getting older. If we don't do anything to prevent that, our skin would look aged. Well, guess what? It's the same thing down there. And if you want to have wonderful, enjoyable sex for as long as you live, you're going to need to make sure that that tissue remains thick. And if you haven't been treating it, you can do things to thicken that tissue and make it return to youthful functionality. So if you're interested in the quality of life, then yes, let's talk about this. It's definitely not a reflection of, it's just a natural part of getting older and going through different life challenges, or just life, not necessarily challenges, just life.
So if we're talking about the intimate areas, you have to be so delicate, because people are so sensitive to, referring to things as what they are, so saying vagina is like, ooh, shouldn't say that word. Where was I going with that? Ultimately, I think it's important to understand that a lot of women have never experienced an orgasm and don't know what that's like. And so would a product like this help with that sensitivity, because it's giving more energy to that area?
Most definitely. But I think, first of all, let's back up. And I want to say the biggest sex organ is the one between your ears, you know? So first of all, we have to understand there's so many things that are involved in helping a woman achieve orgasm. I think there's so many things that go into play.
Right.
There's a physiological aspect, which is what this product addresses, which is blood flow. Blood flow is essential to have the nerves being fed so you can feel the sensations.
Right.
And different things affect blood flow. Age is one of the things that affect blood flow. Medications we're on affect blood flow. So the CO2 lift V is going to bring blood flow to that area. And we're talking about the areas that cause, for help a woman to achieve orgasm is the clitoris. And that clitoris is it's what we're seeing is just like the tip of the iceberg. It goes all the way down. And, we can get into the conversation really where the G spot is, because I was actually at a physician meet conference this past weekend in Miami, and going to the sexual health part of it, they were talking about that the G spot is not the same on every woman. And so a man, trying to please a woman, and you heard that the G spot is right there, and you're manipulating it all day long, if that's not where her G spot is, she's not going to feel it. So the G spot is different on every woman. However, so first things first, we have to make sure that area is functioning correctly, which is what the CO2 Lift V does, because it's going to bring blood flow, it's going to keep that area youthful. But then you have to obviously other things go into play. So in terms of achieving orgasm, I know one of the big things too for women, just relaxing and just feeling comfortable with your body. So I've heard a sex therapist mention, in regards to the CO2 Lift V, one of the reasons why she feels that is helping a woman, not only because it has a physiological effect, but because of the act of taking care of that area, pleasurable, it already starts that process, which is what we talked about between our ears, and getting in the right frame of mind. So that was a very long answer to that question, but definitely the CO2 Lift V plays a role, not only in the physiological aspect. When you bring awareness to something, that attention expands on it. And for men, I feel that the breeze will blow and they can get an erection. I mean, there's so many cues, sexual cues for them. For women, we're more internal. And so by taking care of ourselves in that way, it just brings awareness and confidence to us, so that we're going to be confident and relaxed when we're in that situation to be able to enjoy it more.
Right. So I interviewed a doctor recently. So it was my first time getting to know that there is a O shot and a P shot. And so what are your thoughts? So obviously, for my listeners who don't know, the O shot is for the woman and the P shot is for the guy. What are your thoughts on the O shot versus CO2 Lift V?
So the O shot is putting PRP, it's using platelet-rich plasma, and you're injecting it into the clitoris and different parts in the vaginal tissue. And it's, again, supposed to start regenerating that tissue. So I love dual modalities. We have many physicians who are using PRP, or the O shot. It's just a name for using PRP in that area. And they're using it in conjunction with the CO2 Lift V. If I was going to, so I love combination therapy. So you talk about shot. I think when you talk about aesthetics and you talk about regeneration, 1+1 doesn't equal 2. It has an exponential benefit. So I think combining them, including using PRP, is only going to be effective. If I was going to choose one because of finances and I said, okay, which one would I put my horse on? Which I put the money on? The reason why I would say the CO2 Lift V is because as we get older, our platelets are not the same. So if you talk about women's platelets when she's in her 20s, but by the time she reaches 45 and then she gets into over 50, they're not the same. It doesn't have the same amount of the regenerative properties. So for that reason, the CO2 Lift is constant. You're talking about bringing the same thing to the table, regardless of your age. So that's would be my response to that.
Yeah, right. I feel like even though I haven't had any issue, I like the feeling of the product as it's working. And I like knowing that I'm helping things to stay young and, well, youthful. So scientifically, this carboxytherapy gel treatment has been proven scientifically. And so it's organic, it's natural, and it's results driven. There's no pain, there's no downtime, there's just results.
Yeah.
So it is just an incredible product when you think about it in those terms, because so many things like the ultrasound and some of the other things we were talking about earlier, where there's machines that can do certain things down below, they seem sometimes to be a little uncomfortable. This is like in your own home, at your leisure. You just talk to us about how you actually use this product.
So for those of you who can see us, this is two packets that you get. You basically mix them in a bowl that you have in your kitchen. And then you have an applicator, which is like a little syringe, and you pull it up and you inject it very much like you're putting on a tampon. And then you put the rest on the labia all the way to the perineum. And I like to put on a panty liner and you just go to bed and you wake up in the morning and it pops out. If you haven't done any other type of procedure, you basically need to do at least 5. It's 5 to 10. So when I did it was in my 40s, I did 10 treatments. And the protocol is from the study, it was 5 1 week and then 5 the next week. And then after that, to maintain it, you do once a month. Now, I'll tell you the first time that I did it, so I did it after the study was done. And it was just, I thought, oh my goodness, is this my mind? Is it mind over matter? Because things were operating in a very different way. So there was nothing wrong at the time. So, and I say nothing wrong. When my gynecologist did my exam, she said, oh, Lana, you have no lubrication problems. However, I'll tell you something. Once I did it, it was like you opened up the floodgates of heaven. I actually forgot how it could be, because as we get older, we kind of forget. It's not like our face where we keep a snapshot. You don't.
Well, if you're like me, that's just not getting it at all. I've forgotten what it's like.
And especially, I think that's an important thing, Roberta. It's just that, if kind of like if you don't use it, you lose it. You don't want it to atrophy. So you want to keep that blood flow going. So even if you're not in a relationship as a woman, at least once a month, you need to do something in there to keep it alive so that when you're ready to eat, when you're ready to sit at the table.
Do something to keep it alive, Lana.
keep it functioning so that when you're ready to use it, it's ready and working. I have these conversations a lot with women, and even older women too. It takes so much time to get warmed up, like to be ready for a woman. Right. I was listening to this other podcast the other day, and this woman was talking about how much foreplay has to go in before, at her age, before she is ready for, for intercourse. And what this does is just gets you ready. Like, in other words, you stay ready. It's like you're humming at, the engine is just turned on and you're ready to go. That's what this is. It's like you're just keeping the car on, you're keeping the engine on. And when you're ready, you just put it in first gear and you're gone. That's what this is like. That's what this is like. But I tell you, with when I thought it was mind over matter before we even launched the product, I gave it to my mom and my aunts, and they went from sandpaper to butter.
Wow.
So that is a real thing. And when I talked to her,
how did they feel about you saying there was sandpaper?
Well, that was their words. That's
Oh,
what they said. It
wow.
was like sandpaper. And in fact, mommy said to me that it didn't really become that hard until she was 69. Like she started noticing a difference. At 69, it dropped off where it was very painful. It was like
Wow.
unbearable. But I've heard that from women even in their 40s. Sometimes
Mm,
it drops off. Women who've had chemotherapy, they're forced into menopause.
mm,
That's kind of, their tissue is so thin, it's not pleasurable.
right.
So for men, I think what I like is in terms of education for men, a lot of times in a relationship, and the statistics are 50% of marriages end in divorce. And one of the main reasons cited is unmet sexual needs. In
Mm,
fact, a survey done in I think it was 2017, it showed that I think it was like 15% of married men and 25%, there maybe the numbers need to be adjusted a little, of married women didn't have sex with their partner for a whole year.
wow.
And one of the things, so think about that. But I think understanding for men to understand that women, this is a natural process, that they get to an age and things just are not as comfortable. That's why it's not top of our mind.
Mhm.
However, there are things we can do about it so that it can become again, you know? So that would be in terms of usage, it's easy. It's 5 to 10 treatments and then once a month to maintain. If you're
Right.
doing other complementary treatments, like you go into a doctor's office and you have radio frequency or laser, then you won't need to do as many, but you would want to do once a month to even extend the life of that expensive treatment in the office that you did. Because compared to other treatments, this is very inexpensive compared to other treatments that you would get in a doctor's office.
Right. Okay, so that takes us perfectly into what are the benefits of CO2 Lift V. I have to be very clear, sorry, because there are two different products.
Yes, CO2. Well, the one of the benefits is lubrication. You're going to natural lubrication will be increased. So you're going to notice that that you during intimacy, it's going to flow. You're going to notice increased sensitivity because blood flow is happening. So you're going to feel it in a different way.
Mhm.
Another thing is that you're going to reduce infections because it keeps the pH, ideally where the vaginal pH, you're going to reduce infections that happen, especially as we get older, our pH changes. This is going to keep it there. You're going to feel, I feel because the skin is thicker, you're going to feel as if it's tighter because once the skin is thicker, you can actually manipulate it,
Right,
differently. So those are some, and then also there's an aesthetic benefit that the outside actually looks very similar to when you do it on the face. It's going to be plump, it's going to look tighter. So those are the benefits of the CO2 lift fee.
okay. And then what are the medical issues that you can target using this product?
Okay, so many physicians use this right after giving birth. So you remember when you had your daughter, how you would sit in a sitz bath. It's swollen, it's a lot, especially if you had vaginal birth. So
Yeah.
this
And I
basically
had an episiotomy, so I could have used this product.
oh my
So
gosh.
yeah.
Yes. We actually had a physician, they were talking at a round table talking about her daughter. And just from then she encourages patients to use it after an episiotomy. But yes, they can use it right after childbirth. Tissue is drier down there. This is a great product to use in breastfeeding. And any extra, you can actually put it on the nipples because if you're breastfeeding, sometimes that's sore.
Yeah.
If you had chemotherapy, and that would be a great opportunity to use it. Again, menopausal women, if you're on medication, even if you think about sinus medication or allergy medication, because it's drying up your nasal passage, it's also drying that passage. So, and then again, for women who are interested in preventing the results of aging, this is a product that they would want to use at least monthly to maintain that. Lichen sclerosis. Now, that is something that I feel like is undiagnosed for many women, because that's a condition that is itching, dry, burning vaginas, that they're using this to treat lichen sclerosis as well.
Very quickly, what are the contraindications, if any?
So there are really none. None. It's a benign product. The only thing it's doing when you mix it, it creates a CO2 gas, which penetrates into the dermal layer of the skin. And it brings oxygen to that area, increases the capillaries. But in terms of complications with this, we've never had one. And we don't expect to have one with that, because again, it's a benign product.
Okay, we've sort of run through this really well, and all I can say is that this is an incredible product. I'm really excited that you brought it to the market. Really hoping that we can get it to London. So I want to discuss that with you, because I've had a lot of people interested. And if people want to know more about this product, how do they find you?
CO2lift.com. We're also on Instagram, CO2lift. and CO2 Lift V, and they can just DM us, our support team. They respond very quickly to that. And of course, they can always email support@CO2 Lift.
Perfect. Lana, it's been absolutely amazing talking to you. I feel rejuvenated just speaking about it.
You're such a great host. Thank you. Great questions.
Thank
Love
you.
this conversation. Thank you so much.
I would like to say that the Beauty Show is all about helping you to live not just longer, but healthier for longer. And it's really important, as I consider myself to be a reverse aging aficionado, that I find ways to share the insights and knowledge about how we can all achieve this. And even in these most intimate areas, we can rejuvenate and have a youthful look to our skin. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll get you on the show again another time.
I would love that. Thank you so much, Roberta.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.